Okay, this movie is no Dragon Ball Evolution, but this movie is just another example that you just can't make live-action movies out of Japanese animated shows. You just can't do it. Hey everyone, welcome to the review, and here's my review for the movie Death Note. Yes, Death Note stars Nat Wolff, Margaret Qualley, Lakeith Stanfield, and Willem Dafoe, and this movie is directed by Adam Wingard. Yes, the guy who gave us movies like The Guest, You're Next, and Blair Witch. And yes, this is a Netflix original movie. Well, hardly original, but this is a Netflix movie, and it's Death Note. And if you don't know what Death Note is, then just watch the anime, because honestly it's way better than this goddamn movie. But yeah, this movie is a live-action American remake of the Death Note TV show / the Death Note manga. And yeah, the story is basically similar. It's basically the same story. It's about a high school student named Light Yagami, or in the movie, his name is Light Turner, because, you know, it's Americanized and stuff. And basically, he finds a notebook called the Death Note, and when he writes a name in the Death Note, the person dies. And he can also, like, write how the person's gonna die, when the person's gonna die and stuff. Well, basically, you write the person's name in the Death Note, they die in real life. And yeah, there's all sorts of rules and stuff, and also when you are the owner of the Death Note, the Shinigami that owns the Death Note follows you around, and basically becomes like your own Shinigami, and the Shinigami that follows Light is named Ryuk, and he's a demon. He's basically like a god of death or something, whatever. It's a Shinigami. It basically follows him around, basically just for entertainment-wise and for him to eat some apples and stuff. And Light finds the Death Note, this high school kid named Light. In the anime, his name is Light Yagami, and in this movie, his name is Light Turner. He's son of the local sheriff, and basically he finds the Death Note and starts using it and gets a little carried away with it and starts calling himself Kira, basically the god of death and stuff. And in the show, he just did it by himself. Like, he was just basically killing people because he thought that was him bringing justice to bad people. In this movie, he does it with a girl named Mia. Basically, she's supposed to be like Misa, but her name's Mia, and basically, as a couple, they start killing people and stuff. And in the show, yes, he has a girl named Misa. She's like a girl who's like really obsessed with him. She has like the Shinigami eyes, but that relationship was done way differently in the show, better in the show than it is in this movie. But yeah, and it's also in the movie they have the character L, who is this young detective and stuff, and you don't get to see his face. He like sits weird and eats all these sweets and stuff, and basically it's like a cat and mouse game between Light and L, and basically it's about him trying to find out who Kira is and stuff. And yeah, that's basically the gist of the story. It's basically almost like the first season of Death Note, and yeah, I was not at all looking forward to this movie. This movie did not look good. I'm not like excited for American remakes of Japanese shows, because they don't work out. Dragon Ball Evolution is a great example of that. Even Last Airbender, you know, Avatar's not a Japanese show, but still, just it can't be done. Just they don't know how to do it properly, and this movie's just another example of they just don't know what the fuck they're doing. This movie isn't god-awful. It's a bad movie. This movie is not good. This is not a movie I can recommend, but it's not, like, god-awful. There are moments in this movie that are pretty good. There's a lot of stuff they changed, but there's also a lot of stuff that they kept. And honestly, the stuff that they kept was kind of wrong, and the kind of stuff that they changed was kind of wrong, so it's a little weird. It's like this movie just was set up to fail, because all the stuff that they change is dumb, and then the stuff they keep the same is stupid. They didn't know what the hell they were doing. The biggest problem with this movie was the screenplay. This movie is so horribly written. Like, this movie, the writers for this movie tried to be so loyal to the source material, but also be so different. It came off so clunky and just horribly executed. And even Adam Wingard, as a talented filmmaker as he is, he couldn't even save this movie, because the writing for this movie is so poor. The characters in this movie are so horribly written characters. They're all very bland, very one-dimensional characters. You don't get to know any of these characters, and you know nothing about these characters. The only way you would know more about these characters is if you watched the show and read the manga, but if you haven't, you don't know anything about these people, and the movie doesn't even tell you anything about these people and stuff, because, again, horrible screenplay. The movie tells you a lot about the rules of the Death Note and stuff, but there's a lot of things that just make no sense, and it's so jumbled, and it's just not well executed and stuff, and it makes no goddamn sense. Even the stuff with the Death Note, in the show, they laid it out how they laid it out to you in the show made more sense, but how they did it in this movie, it doesn't make sense. And also the character Light in the show is like almost a sociopath, even though he's doing it for justice, but the power of being Kira goes to his head, and he becomes almost crazy with power and thinks of himself as a god. In this movie, the character Light, played by Nat Wolff, who does a terrible job, he doesn't really give a good performance, but like in the beginning of this movie, he's a very whiny kind of teenager. He just kind of reminds me of like one of those emo kids in school. And also, he's kind of a big scaredy cat when he first gets to death and the death note and stuff. And it's just like, wow, this is the guy we're supposed to be kind of scared of. Like when you watch Death Note, Light Yagami is a very intimidating and very creepy person. In this movie, he's not at all. He's just a very wimpy emo kid and stuff who has like a fucking Death Note and stuff. Even the two main characters, Mia and Light in this movie, they just feel like those kids at your school who are like into into Satan and stuff, and like the people who are like Satanists and stuff. They're like, oh yeah, fuck the world and stuff. You know, those kind of weird people that you go to school with. That's what they kind of feel like in this movie. They don't feel like genuinely insane, crazy people and stuff. And the girl Mia in this movie, I don't understand her connection with Light. I don't understand why she likes Light. And I don't understand why she wants to use the Death Note, because in this movie, she goes like all freaking psycho and nuts, and there's no reason for it whatsoever. At least in the show, Kira saved Misa's life, and that's why Misa is obsessed with Light, because he saved her life when she was about to get killed, but he wrote that person's name in the Death Note, and it saved her life. So she thinks she owes her life to Light because he saved hers and stuff. That's why she gets the Shinigami eyes and basically becomes the owner of her own Death Note. See, it makes sense in the show, and he doesn't even give a shit about Misa in the show, not until like a little bit when he loses his memory and stuff, and it becomes like a really dark and very twisted relationship. In this movie, I don't understand the relationship. I don't understand the connection. I don't understand why they're together. They had no chemistry with each other. There was just no reason for anything what they were doing in this movie. Just, it made no sense. They had no chemistry, and there's no reason why she's so crazy and stuff, because they don't talk about her character. I know nothing about this character, Mia. I have no idea why she hates everybody. I have no idea why she's so insane and stuff, so it made no sense. And like in this movie, they try to make Light almost kind of like a good guy and stuff. Like, she's the bad one. He's actually, he's just a little misunderstood. He's doing it for the right reasons. I mean, no. In the show, Light Yagami is a villain. He is the bad guy. That's the best thing about Death Note. Death Note, the main character you're following through in the show is a bad guy. That's why I love Death Note so much, because the guy we're rooting for is the villain. And in the movie, he doesn't feel like a villain and stuff, and I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all, and the actors in this movie didn't do a very good job. Nat Wolff, I could tell he was trying at times, but my God, he didn't give a good performance in this movie, and I didn't buy him as Light. He was not an intimidating or creepy character. He was just kind of like a dopey, emo teenager. And the girl Margaret Qualley, who plays the character Mia, she was also, when she tries to be like intimidating, it came off almost laughable and stuff. I'm like, oh God. And now let's get to L. L is my favorite character in all of Death Note. He is the guy, the investigator, who's after Kira/Light. And in this show, he doesn't figure out it is Light, and he always has his suspicions that Light is Kira, but he never fully finds out. But in this movie, he just finds out like that and stuff, and it's really weird, and just like Light basically almost tells him like a moron and shit. And in this one, he's like this guy who like hides his face and stuff. He's played by Lakeith Stanfield, and that guy, yeah, he's been in movies, great movies before. He's been in Straight Outta Compton as Snoop Dogg. He was in Get Out. Like, this is a very good actor, and I was excited for him to play L, because I like his acting, but he wasn't very good in this movie as well. Mostly, again, to the writing. This is a horribly written character. Like, L, this is not at all L. Just because he does the movements like L and eats candy doesn't mean he is L. Nothing about this character felt like L. Like, L is a really smart, intellectual character, and he's also, like, he's always very cunning and stuff. He's always like 5 steps ahead of Kira, and, like, he's very calm, too. He's very calm and collect. This L, like, freaks out, like, every, like, 20 minutes and stuff. I'm like, this doesn't feel like a calm and collect L. There's even a moment at the end of the movie, mild spoilers, he almost, like, wants to kill Light. Like, absolutely kill him. And it's just, I'm like, no, L would never do that. L would never even think that. Just, like, I just didn't like. I just didn't like how they did Elle in this movie. And Lakeith Stanfield, his performance wasn't very good, but mostly it was due to bad writing. He wasn't a well-written character, and no matter what actor who played Elle, it wouldn't have worked anyways. Because again, all the characters in this movie were just horribly written characters. So no matter what actors you got in this film, none of them could have made this bad writing work. Adam Wingard directed this movie, and he tries to put some tension and atmosphere in the film, and there's even a really cool chase scene with light and Elle, and it's really well directed and well edited, but again, you have no investment because the story isn't well written, and the characters aren't well written, and the dialogue isn't even well written. Nothing about this movie is well written, so you just have zero investment in the story and in the characters. So when people are dying and people are chasing after everyone, you just don't give a shit. You even how this movie ends, you just don't give a shit. And yeah, it was really disappointing. Well, not too disappointing because I had zero hopes for this film, but yeah, it wasn't a good movie. The writing was so bad, the performances weren't great, the direction is very sloppy at times, but Adam Wingard does try in a lot of scenes, but yeah, it wasn't even enough for him to save this movie, because again, this was just such a horribly written film, and yeah, there are good things though. Again, there is moments of atmosphere, there's some really violent and disturbing imagery in this film, and it's pretty gross and pretty, a little disturbing at times, and also, I loved Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe is in this movie as Ryuk. That was the best part of the movie. Like, that is just brilliant and perfect casting as Ryuk. He looked really cool, looked really creepy, and the voice of Willem Dafoe was so well done. And yeah, he was great. That was perfect. That was, like, the best part of the movie, Ryuk. Ryuk was great, and Willem Dafoe did an awesome job. Awesome job. There was even some decent shots, and the editing was actually pretty darn sharp, and yeah, there's stuff in this movie that is good, but the stuff that's bad is really bad. And again, compared to the show, this movie is abysmal. Like, it is nothing at all as good as the show. The show is so much way, way, way better than this movie. The show, again, it's not in my top 10 favorite anime, so I did not like this movie. It didn't honor the show. Like, it tried to be different, and it didn't work. Then at times it tried to be the same, and it didn't work. The movie as itself just doesn't work, and yeah, I can't recommend this movie. Maybe some people who don't know Death Note and they don't know the Death Note story, they didn't read the manga or watch the show, maybe they'll find some enjoyment out of it, but if you're a Death Note fan, then I don't think you'll like this movie at all. I want to be generous with it because there are some cool stuff in it, but it's not a good movie. It's not at all a good movie. And if you're a Death Note fan, I think this movie would be very insulting to watch. Like, I think you will actually maybe get offended. You'll be like, oh my god, what the fuck did they just do? So yeah, I can't recommend it at all. It's not a good movie. So yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give the movie Death Note a 4.7 out of 10. So yeah, it's not good. I wanted to get up to a 5 or even a 5.5, but it's not a good movie. It's not good, and I'll probably never watch this movie again. So yeah, not a good film, and please don't make a sequel to it. So yeah, that was my review for the movie Death Note. So in the comment section below, please tell me, are you familiar with the show Death Note? If you are, what is your favorite character from the show? Not this movie, but who's your favorite character? What's your favorite episode? What are your thoughts and opinions of the good Death Note? Give me your thoughts and opinions, comment below, let me know. And as always for this video, please like, subscribe to this channel, and join the dark side.